Okay, let's dive right in. If you've been working with any of the AI coding assistants out there, you know the feeling. It's a bit of a mess. You're constantly writing these special instructions, but every single tool, every single agent wants them in its own unique format. Well, today we're going to break down a new, super simple standard that's aiming to fix all of that.
I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? If you've ever found yourself juggling different instruction files for different AI tools, you've probably had this exact thought. It's this shared frustration over a problem that feels like it should be simple, but has just gotten incredibly messy. What are we doing? Well, it turns out there might finally be an answer.
And this is what that madness looks like in practice. Your code repository, your single source of truth, ends up looking like a junk drawer. It's just stuffed with all these different incompatible files. You got one for Cursor, another one for Claude, maybe a third one for Gemini. And of course, none of them talk to each other. It just creates clutter, confusion, and a whole lot of duplicated work.
So yeah, we're calling this the coding agent chaos. And it's a huge headache for any developer who's trying to use more than one AI tool. Because right now, every single one of them is demanding instructions in its own private proprietary language. And that's really the heart of the problem, right? The instructions you painstakingly write for one agent are completely useless for another. It forces you to repeat yourself over and over, manage a bunch of different files, and just waste valuable time that you should be spending, actually coding. It's just fundamentally inefficient. But thankfully, out of this chaos, a real solution is starting to emerge. It's a unified standard called Agents.md. And the whole idea is to bring some order, some predictability, and frankly, some much-needed sanity back to the world of AI-assisted development.
So what is it exactly? Well, think of Agents.md as an open standard for your instruction files. It's like a universal translator for AI. You write one file, and any AI coding agent that supports the standard can instantly understand it. It's all about creating one clear, predictable way to give instructions. And what's absolutely wild is that this isn't some top-down mandate from a few big tech companies. Not at all. This is pure grassroots demand from developers. Even before this thing was officially announced, a quick search on GitHub showed that over 20,000 open-source projects had already created a file named Agents.md. That's some serious proof that this is something developers actually want.
Now, you might be thinking, hold on, don't we already have a readme.md for this? And that's a great question, because the distinction here is absolutely crucial. A README file, that's for humans. It's your project's welcome mat, your quick start guide. An Agents.md file, on the other hand, is written specifically for the AI. It contains all the nitty-gritty technical details the agent needs to know to build, test, and style your code the right way.
Okay, so the concept is solid, we get it, but how do you actually use it? Let's get practical for a second and walk through how you can implement an Agents.md file in your own projects, like right now. It really is this simple. Seriously, just 3 steps. First, you just create an Agents.md file at the root of your project. Second, and this is important, be selective. Don't just dump your entire project's documentation in there. Add only what the agent truly needs to know to be helpful. And third, if you're working in a big, complex monorepo, you can actually nest these files to provide more specific, localized instructions for different parts of your codebase.
So, what kind of information is actually useful for an AI? Well, think about the core mechanics of your project. How do you build it? What are the exact commands to run the tests? Are there specific code style rules or security policies the agent absolutely has to follow? This is the kind of stuff that turns a generic AI assistant into a genuinely powerful teammate.
And if you're ever on the fence about what to include, just use this super simple rule of thumb. If it's something you would need to explain to a new human developer on their first day, it probably belongs in your Agents.md file. When you think of it that way, it all becomes incredibly clear.
So what happens in those big projects with multiple nested files? The rule is beautifully simple. Proximity wins. The agent will always listen to the instructions in the Agents.md file that is physically closest to the code it's working on. This lets you have global rules at the root and then really specific, tailored instructions for every little part of a complex monorepo. It's brilliant.
This standard, as simple as it sounds, really has the potential to change how we collaborate with AI in a fundamental way. So let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Who's backing this initiative? And what could this really mean for the future of software development?
Well, the list of early adopters is already pretty impressive. You've got heavy hitters like OpenAI, Google, and Cursor on board. But what's just as interesting is who isn't on this list yet.
The most glaring absence is Anthropic, which means its AI, Claude, is, for now at least, sticking with its own proprietary format. The good news here, though, is that getting on board with this new standard is incredibly easy. If you're already using one of those proprietary files like a cursor.rules or a claude.md, the migration path is literally as simple as renaming the file to Agents.md. The folks behind this have made the transition pretty much frictionless. So we're left with this huge question. Is this the moment things finally standardize? Is Agents.md going to become the robots.txt for AI code generation? That single universal language that finally lets us collaborate seamlessly with any AI agent we choose? Only time will tell, but it feels like a massive step in the right direction.